This is the Workplace Ninja podcast, coming to you live from our summit in Baden with highlights, insights, and interviews.
Okay, hello. Not a lot of people here. Still appreciate it. My name is Felix Alvarez. I'm here for ControlUp, and I like to show you a little bit what we are doing in terms of managing and monitoring Microsoft and all of the ecosystem. Yeah, let's kick it off. If you have questions, there's not so many people, so you can just shout and we'll do it on the fly. Okay, so first thing, we are looking at our Solve dashboard, our web console. It's like a single point pane of glass dashboard to show you all of the ecosystem. As I said, we are at the data center at the moment. I don't know if it's large enough. So you can see now the AVD workspaces over here, and I'm zoomed in on the user sessions specifically. Right? In the old world, the Citrix and Horizon world, it was fairly easy because you had some onboard tools to actually monitor and also manage this. But with AVD, you're almost blind, right? It's very difficult to tell what users are facing and how the performance is working, how the user experience is, and this is where ControlUp kicks in to give some more details, right? So we can drill down into the AVD part deeply. We are integrated in the application groups, the host pools, and then in the last bit, you can drill down even into a user session and a device, which is actually very nice. So I have a colleague here in the UK at the moment. He's also at a healthcare event, and I can, from his AVD session, look into his endpoint connection, right? So that's what's happening live now on his end, on his Windows notebook that he's running. And we are not even, or you are not required to actually use an agent to get this kind of data. We developed a plugin for the AVD client that allows you to take this kind of data through the AVD session. So it's only available if there is an AVD session. It's not a full endpoint monitoring, but it helps you troubleshoot this blind spot, so to speak, if users work from home or from the road or wherever, right? It does not only show you network metrics, but you're also able to, for example, see CPU or packet loss, which is very nice, especially when we talk about Teams, Zoom, unified communications, where this is really important and the endpoint is taking most of the load in most of the cases. This is not only available in real time, we also have this available as historical reports. So you can basically look back in time. If someone complains and says the last few weeks I had a lot of issues, you'll be able to even go a year back and see if it was really the AVD machine or if it was the end user environment, so to speak, the client device. Speaking of these kind of tools, we can drill down into that as well. So we have a full-blown Teams monitoring. With an asterisk, it's not only for Teams, we also do Zoom, and we're going to add WebEx very soon, where you can, of course, get an overview, but this is not as fancy as it gets because you can use your Microsoft Teams dashboard already, right, to get this kind of information. What ControlUp is very good at is then helping you to troubleshoot these issues. So you can basically search for a user session. Because we have so limited time, I pre-configured it a little bit and already took the same user that we saw just before, right? My colleague Martin from the UK. And you can see his Teams calls over the last few months. And then if he reported some issues or if you see a bad score here, for example, you can easily drill down into it. And it's as easy as it gets, right? You just click on it and then you zoom into the call. I'm now looking for his user. He's here because in this case, if we want to have this level of detail, of course, you need to install an agent, right? Now we are talking full endpoint monitoring and management. And here you will have, on top of what you see in Teams, also the option to see all of the metrics during the entire time of the call. right? So you see audio, video throughput, jitter, packet loss, all of this stuff, but not as a single metric, but like a real graph for the entire time of the call. The call here was conducted on the 18th of August between 11 and 11:06. Not very long call, but totally sufficient. Now, if you want to start troubleshooting or want to understand better what went wrong, you can even drill deeper into the device. So by just clicking his device, very easy to do, we look at his Dell Latitude laptop in this case, and it's not only the laptop currently, but the console automatically drilled into the 18th of August, and also the time frame you see here is exactly from 11 a.m. to 11:06, right? To see the exact time frame, and then you can hover over these little icons and see what, for example, teams consumed in terms of CPU resources, right? And I think CPU, sometimes it's interesting. What is even more interesting is looking for network, right? Was there an issue with Wi-Fi? Was there a drop? Was there a huge latency? We actually have a test running specifically for Teams here. So we are pinging constantly the Teams tenant and from his device to get the exact Teams latency here, to give you all of the details, right? And as you could see, it's not difficult to get here. It's a way like one click of a mouse, and then you are in the right time frame. You look for the user, he's telling you when he faced these issues, and then boom, you're there. Very easy to do, right? When we talk about endpoint management, of course, we can do way more. We install an agent on the device, right? And it connects through the internet, so it also doesn't matter if it's like a device in your office environment or a home office user or someone working remote from the road. And then you can look at all of the specific angles that you have, right? We can look at it from an application performance perspective and see which applications are causing issues. We have a very nice graph here that is showing you applications by frustration. Sounds very funny, but it shows you where to troubleshoot first. Because if you find an application over here like Google Chrome, it means that it's being used very frequent and it has a low score. So that's something you want to look at and troubleshoot first, right? But you can also look at it from a device performance perspective, whatever you want to do, right? Here, it's the same way. You can look at all of the devices. You can do a drill down, look at a specific group at a specific location. We'll give you all the options to filter, and then you can see the score over time and specific hiccups and issues that you see, right? We're going to give you some key insights, and you're going to see the top models with the worst score, and you can also change the time frame that you're looking at very easily, very conveniently. So it's always real-time data for troubleshooting versus historical data to analyze trends, see how your environment is changing over time, and that's very handy to have in one console, right? And one big part, of course, is always user experience. So we put a lot of user experience metrics like logon time, like application launch time, models that reboot a lot, that you also have this as an overview, and you can see if I move my mouse over these columns, you can always drill down and look at the specific device, right? And there you can see a lot of stuff. Of course, we are doing mostly Windows, but we are not limited to that, right? Unfortunately, the connection here is not that amazing, and I can show you that in a second. Let's take my device, for example. I'm searching for my user here. This is my MacBook that you see up here. And then you can basically see that I'm actually standing in front of you if you don't believe your eyes that much. And here we can basically see how the network over here is working, right? And then you see that especially now, right, I have a lot of latency at the moment. That's why it lags some time. And this level of visibility is very, very helpful in these situations to understand why an application is not performing or why an entire, for example, AVD session is not running the way you want it. And you can perform this drill down even from the VDI session, right? I jumped right into the device, but let's take one step back. If you are, for example, the AVD admin and you look at the AVD dashboard, and I'm going back now here, you see all of the user sessions. You can use, for example, this little icon here. And then you see that we do not only have this plugin data, but the device is actually underlaid in blue, and that means you can basically click it and jump from the virtual session and have an easy drill down into the device of my colleague in this case, right? Fairly easy to do. ControlUp is very unique also in the sense that we do not only monitor this from like resource perspective or user experience perspective, we also have an option to do real testing. So a more proactive approach to all of these things. What we've seen so far is always real-time or historical data, but today it's a lot about being ahead of time, right? Being ahead of your users, understanding an issue even earlier, seeing an outage before it affects everyone, so to speak. Therefore, we have a module called ScoutBees that allows you to perform these tests on EOC, on your infrastructure, on applications, and have a robot performing these tasks, right? Very easy also to configure. So I can go here, create an EOC Scout, and then I can choose if I want to run it from a location that we provide, right? One of our data centers, or you can install a local Hive in one of your office locations, for example, in one of your data centers. Let's go for a Cloud Hive. I'm from Germany, so I choose Frankfurt for the start. And then here you choose, for example, your AVD, and then you enter the credentials, your multi-factor authentication, and the robot will go on and start the AVD session like a user would do, but you would see, and you can, of course, edit on how often it should run and where it should run, from where. You can have multiple tests if you have multiple data centers or locations, and it will show you if there is an issue, if the logon duration is too long, if there is an outage, it will notify you even before the users, right? If it happens, let's say, on a Sunday night, even before everyone comes to office on Monday, no problem. All right, easy to do. Since we are running a little bit out of time, I'm going to cut it short because I have one last thing to show. We are actually working on an even nicer integration in Intune, actually. So that's my last thing to show you here. No, I was logged out already. Let's see if it works. Let's refresh this page real quick. So what we did here is basically an extension for Intune. So far, we've looked at the ControlUp dashboards, right? But we are also able to provide you an integration into Intune that doesn't require launching another console to then monitor and troubleshoot all of these metrics. We will give you the device metrics already here, right? So this is your this is in fact a cloud PC, right? And then you can open this little ControlUp icon here, and it will show you all of the metrics that you've seen before, but right in Intune. You can look at the device performance, the network, disks, application crashes, and you have it right at hand, and you can do the troubleshooting from here. This will also be available for ticket systems, right? So if you run, for example, ServiceNow, will work the same way. You can basically go there, open the device in there, and see the relevant metrics right next to it. Okay, before we run totally out of time, are there any questions? In case you're too shy or you don't want to ask in front of this massive crowd, you're welcome to join us at our booth and ask more questions. Yeah, thank you very much.